Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Background Information. We're doing a character profile and we're still on reciprocity and we're going to have a couple of characters from that still to go through and we're doing about Audrey Tyrell. He's one of the main group, so he's one of the main protagonists in it. So as always I'll do a quote from one of the bits where they mentioned, then I'll give you my ideas on what I was thinking when I was creating them and then I'll give you their character profile. So let's get into it. So you're going from renegade to rookie, just like us, Audrey stated, his deep voice rumbling but filled with unexpected humour. Rufio was not sure how to respond to that, unable to think of a way to answer it when he suddenly found himself being slapped on the shoulders by the strongest arms he could ever have expected to land upon his body. Audrey was then grinning brilliantly as he gave a chuckle. "You're going to be just like me then, set straight and given a good job. It's a great job with money too and tons of fun, but we're not allowed to do that thing with the car again." Quote from Reciprocity. Before you ask, yes, I did name this troll after a certain alien plant that eats people, and two, I can't draw trolls either, they just never look right when I try. But here is Audrey Tyrell. I actually chose his name as I did because the nerd I was listening to the soundtrack of Blade Runner, and my brain went, that seems to work with the name Audrey. That's often how many names come about. But Audrey here we meet in the first chapter doing a jump with the car and then greeting Rufio. At first we think we're getting the typical dumb but lovable brute, but as the chapters go on we start to realise that there's a lot of depth with Audrey and a lot of things happen. We learn how he has a great ability with baking, how he feels responsible when things go wrong even when it's not his fault, and how he has to deal with the issues of being a troll and deemed trouble. His nickname is Officer Chaos, and at first we're thought to believe it's because he's accident prone and it's typical troll, but then we learn it's actually to do with the fact when he turns up it's chaos for the bad guys, as Audrey isn't the guy that can be turned away. He takes on a lot of dangerous guys for his friends, including an earth elemental that could kill him, another troll not to mention rescuing them from Enoch. Audrey gets a lot of boosts and developments as the story goes along, just like everyone else, and we see him mature, and we also see him starting to understand his own desires as he gets himself a very nice partner later on. But I'm not going to reveal anything, but this is it about this, as it's a big surprise. But Audrey was the strong character I needed, both physically and emotionally. He needed to be the real heart of the group that picked them all up and can also feel with them. He is initially seen as bumbling or just powerful, but he's one of my favourite characters to write because Audrey will save the day, even if the others get into so much trouble. I know there's an issue in that Audrey is an orphan and in a bad crowd until he's steered into the good books, but firstly, he becomes an orphan when he's older due to the war. Lots of war orphans are in the fight clubs, and there's debate on whether the militia are or were the good guys. But I can understand that it does fall into stereotypes, but the idea is that all of the characters in the story do not have a clear culture or history, or as many as many assume. In fact, Audrey's own history, as we slowly learn in the story, is getting more complicated. In fact, we've just finished the sort of beginning arc of the story within the first quarter now written, and the next quarter is heavily based around Audrey and the people he used to know, as well as Santino. So hopefully there will be lots more Audrey time. So name Audrey Tyrell, position troll, story featured in Reciprocity, role protagonist, gender male, description 6'3", muscular, big apple green eyes, black hair that's shaved down, easier to maintain, sometimes has it in fade, brown skin, more muscular than might be assumed, with a broad chest and heavier shoulders that make him look intimidating but typical to a troll. When out of uniform, he wears a black hoodie with dinosaurs chasing people on it, and being chased in turn by a dragon. He also wears whatever trousers can fit his thick thighs and big white trainers and neon pink laces because neon pink is actually his favourite colour. Realm the Veil, abilities he can turn into stone, and this means injuries that bother most don't bother him. He's knife proof, his strength is above anything else, and his stamina and endurance mean there's a lot he can do without getting tired, and he doesn't always need to breathe. Plus, hearing is excellent, and he can see in the dark. Sometimes sunlight can bother him, but that's why he wears his baseball cap around or a hoodie. Master the almighty personality, 5 simple points, optimistic, over-friendly, tends to act before he thinks, over-affectionate and deep down quite lonely, sadly. Relations unclear as of yet. So history. Things can get hazy when you don't know your past, and in Audrey's case, the troll assumed and has remained convinced that his existence is a matter of the usual orphans in a time of war. Audrey's parents were important people. His father was a doctor and his mother was a baker, but Audrey's not really clear on when he lost them. He thinks he was about 11, but the records say he must have been 7 or 8. Even at an orphanage on the island of Delos, Audrey grew up happy and hopeful, potentially dyslexic, and his reading and writing ability was awkward compared to his math skills, and his ability with languages wherein symbols were used above the Latinized figures. He had grown up with the orphanage family until events of the war meant that a battle in the air and at sea beside the island of Delos had caused friendly fire and the damage to the point the beautiful harbour had ended up looking like a pyroclastic flow had ripped through it. Perhaps because he was a troll, Audrey was amongst the survivors shipped over to the orphanages on Charybdis that were in Apollon hands and grew up there until age meant he was drafted into the militia and being prepared for the war. The war ended before he could be deployed, and without much cause he ended up getting involved in the underground fighting ring until he met Officer Lennon, who gained him employment at a bakery he enjoyed before he was inspired to return the kindness of community and join the policing force. He should have graduated by now, but he keeps failing the paper exams because of what is assumed to be undiagnosed dyslexia. But he never lets that put him down and is excited to eventually achieve his goal and become fully qualified. Final comments. If you read Reciprocity and want to give me notes or tips for writing Audrey better, I would certainly appreciate it, as I've always got room to change and evolve when writing. And with all of them, when I read you this basic history, I'll be honest, with things that will happen, none of the histories make sense, and things change all the time, like memories get unlocked and stuff, so all the histories are a bit hazy, and that's what gets interesting when we start going into stuff. So, thank you for listening.